So the big question is this: how these entrepreneurs who started from scratch and had no idea how to sell or market their products or services online and then later on made over 6 figures, 7 figures or even 8 figures became best in their niches and found their dream customers to sell. My name is RJ Ahmed and find this all out in our Interviews with Entrepreneurs show. I interviewed these entrepreneurs and tried to pick their brain of how they actually did that and how they took their business as well as their life to the next level. This podcast is all about the entrepreneurs who strive so hard to become super awesome in their niches. Welcome to Interviews with Entrepreneurs. Welcome to the 100th episode of Interviews with Entrepreneurs show. I'm RJ Ahmed here. I help entrepreneurs go and build their personal brand, go from none to known using high ticket show. So guys, this is absolutely the special episode out there. We finally got the guest we've been waiting for from this day, initial start of the show. We've been waiting for this for day one. So let's have the quick introduction. Like over the past 20 years, he have built a following of over a million entrepreneurs and became a New York Times best-selling author. And through selling hundreds and thousands of copies of his book, dot-com secrets, traffic secrets, and expert secrets, he have popularized the concept of sales funnels and co-founded a software company called Clickfunnels and did a massive launch of Clickfunnels 2.0 as well. So please welcome to the stage, Mr. Russell Brunson.
Hey, how's it going,
Hey,
RJ?
Russell. Man, thank you so much for being on the show today out there. How are you doing?
I'm doing so good. I'm excited to be with you today and proud of what you've been doing, man. You've been consistent and doing this for a long time. So I'm excited to be with you.
Truly appreciate it. So I want to, just want to take care of the time out there and things like that. If you remember, you had an interview with Dave Woodward, shout out to Dave, way before ClickFunnels was actually launched. And you had this sort of like a goal, like, hey, after $10 million per year, you had this goal of, doing $100 million per year. It was way before ClickFunnels was launched. And then when you launched ClickFunnels, you did that in 3 years. What were in your mind, what were the components that went in and made it happen?
Yeah. So obviously there's a lot that goes into something like that. When we started ClickFunnels, we didn't know what it was going to become. We just knew that we felt like there was something special. Like I put out a lot of funnels. I've probably published 150 something funnels before we did ClickFunnels. And I had some
Yeah.
successes, some losses, like all sorts of things. But like when we were building ClickFunnels, we knew like this was something special and it was different. And so, initially we did the first launch and it didn't work. and, so it was interesting because the whole launch of ClickFunnels gave us the ability to kind of redo what we were doing. Like we tried a funnel and it didn't work. We tried another funnel and, we didn't ever say the phrase, you're one funnel away, but in our head, we're like, one of these funnels has to work. And it was the sixth funnel we launched was the one that took off and it started growing. And we're like, oh, okay, this is working now. And then along the way, there's so many little things like, as we started getting a whole bunch of people joining, we didn't have enough support staff to handle it. So we started building a team and started hiring the right people and trying to get the infrastructure in place so we could grow to a different level, right? It's interesting.
Yeah.
Like I watch our entrepreneurs that come into the ClickFunnels world right now, and usually from going from like a $0 to $1 million, the thing that most people have to figure out is like who are they serving? What is the thing they're selling, and how are they selling it? So like what kind of funnel is the right funnel? And we were the same way. It was like those three things we had to figure out. Who are we serving? And as soon as we figured that out, as soon as most people figure that out, they get to the 2 Comma Club really quickly. And since they get to 2 Comma Club, then they have to learn like, I got to hire a team and how do I get people in place? Like it's so heavy, like it's all crushing underneath me. So then we had to figure out how to build a team. That was kind of the next big phase. And then after we had a good team in place, then it was like, now how do we start scaling this? How do we start growing it? And for us, it was by putting out a lot of different funnels, right? I wrote 3 books during that season, trying to get, the message out there. And we were driving traffic to the books. And then it was doing a lot of podcast interviews, a lot of going on people's shows, a lot of things to get traffic. And it was just kind of this continual flywheel of just a lot of things to keep dumping more fuel into the fire and to get it to grow. And it took us, like you said, about 3 years to get from startup to $100 million in sales. And it was just a lot of those things, all the different pieces all combined together to build a company that big.
That's definitely amazing out there. And like fast forward now, I think it's more than 8 years now out there, and it's going amazing. And even right now there, if you notice, either how most people say, like, we are in recession or we are about to get in recession now. And you're actually one of those guys out there who in the past have survived so many Google slaps and different type of slaps as well. So like how you're planning to take the advantage, I would say, of the current recession happening, like how you're actually planning to transition things out there just to make sure everything stays relevant in your end.
Yeah, for sure. I think that definitely recession is something on most people's minds nowadays. And it's interesting because there are certain types of businesses that do really good during times of recession. Like if you look historically over time, like entertainment does really, really well. Even like during the Depression, when things were the worst here in America, the industries that survived were like entertainment. Like even though people were
Yeah.
struggling with money, they wanted to be entertained. So entertainment's an important thing. And what we teach and we talk about all the time with being entrepreneurs, like entertainment, like we're entertaining through podcasts and through videos. And so like that's a big piece of it. Number two is like anything in like an opportunity market does really, really well during times of recession, right? Because people, there's uncertainty in their current jobs or things like that they're currently doing. And so any type of opportunities do really well. And so it's been interesting. I've seen this in my inner circle coaching program. So many people that have businesses that, like a good example, Annie Grace, she spoke at Funnel Hacking Live a couple times, and she has a business helping people overcome alcohol addiction, which is an amazing company. But then she's also taken that, and as her students have gone through her programs and like overcome alcohol addiction themselves, they want to become like Annie. And so she created an opportunity, like, hey, if you want to go and become a coach and go and do this, you can. And so she turned her business, which is like helping people overcome alcohol addiction, into also an opportunity, so people can go and they can sign up, they become coaches, they can go out there and they can coach and things like that. And so that side of her business is now thriving during times of recession. And so the big thing is looking like, how do I turn whatever product or service you're selling into an opportunity? Now, I'm lucky with ClickFunnels. ClickFunnels is an opportunity for anybody, right? Like if you have a job or you don't have a job, it's an opportunity. So traditionally it does really well during these times of uncertainty. And so you'll notice that it's just a really good, like it's a good sector of business to be in. And if you're not in that business, it's like, how do you take what you do and how do you create an opportunity for other people out of it? And if you can do that, it opens up a whole new marketplace. I've been talking a lot in my coaching programs lately to everybody about creating their own certification programs or licensing programs or things like that.
Yeah.
You're taking your own message and turning it into an opportunity for other people. So there's a lot of things like that to look at during the recession. A lot of big opportunities like that can open up inside of any business.
Yeah, that's so amazing. And if we talk about over the last 20 years since you've been in the space out there, there's so many if you talk about a lot of things, there's so many things actually happened which were kind of like ups and downs and things like that. You were almost went bankrupt,
Multiple
and
times.
then you went in, and and like you went in and you started things again, and even things got failed and you went in and tried it again and like made it work. My question around that is, a lot of time out there, people go in, they get stuck, they try one thing, it didn't work out, and they quit, and they just, don't move forward. During times like these, how do you handle anxiety, man? Like how things happened with you? Like, what is your thought process around that? Where if things goes wrong or if things go down, like how you handle that sort of anxiety or pressure, I would say.
That's a great question. Actually, it was interesting. Last week in my inner circle, Sean Whalen came and spoke, and he talked about this. It was really cool. He said that depression comes when you're looking in the past, like something that happened that you're not happy with, and that's when you get depressed. Like, oh, I didn't, depression's the past. Anxiety is like everything that's happening that's moving forward. That like, oh, you're nervous about this and that, like the things that are happening forward. And he went deep talking about this. It was really powerful. He said that the key to not have depression or anxiety is to become very present, like in the moment, like right here, right now. And someone in the audience asked him, said, what's your mission? What's your purpose? And he said, my purpose is right here. Like, this is the only thing that matters. He's like, if I think about the future, I get anxiety. If I think about the past, what I didn't do, I get depression. He's like, I need to be present, super present. And so it's been interesting. That's what I've been thinking a lot about. And I think a big piece of it too, anxiety is caused because we're scared that if we do something wrong, or something in the future, something's going to happen that's going to ruin something. Like, what do that mean to us? Like, how's it going to hurt my significance or my status or whatever those things are, right? And so one of the things I think is key is like for all of us, and I've coached a lot of entrepreneurs through this, but it's like you have to become okay with the worst case scenario, right?
Yeah.
So when you're not okay with it, that's when the anxiety comes. Like, what if my business crashes? What if I launch? What if everything falls apart? What if yeah, boom, that causes all the anxiety and the like, right? As opposed to like, we have look at that and say, okay, what if this whole thing bombs? Like, can I be okay with the worst case scenario? Like, what would that look like? Like, what would that mean? And as soon as you're like comfortable, like, oh, like worst case scenario, I go bankrupt, I lose my house, I and like worst case that all happens, like, but I still have my family or I still have my like whatever. Then it's like, okay, worst case scenario doesn't matter. And then you start looking at it again as a game. I think entrepreneurs who have been athletes have a unique ability, like a unique advantage in this, because as an athlete, when I was wrestling, like I stepped out on the mat 1,000 times to go and wrestle, and I didn't win I didn't win all of them. I lost a lot of them, right? But it was like
Yeah,
being okay with, like,
totally.
if I lose, that's okay. I'm not a loser. I lost, but I'm not a loser. If I lost, I can go learn something. Let me figure out what I learned, where I got to tweak. And like, I got really good at like being okay with that, which is why I don't get too much anxiety about the future. Cause I'm like, if I lose, cool. It's a game. Like, how do I fix that? What do I tweak? What do I need to change? As opposed to some people are like, like if I lose, I'm a loser. And then like, what does that mean in my, all the anxiety that starts building on. And then you get so nervous, you're scared to even step forward. And so I think those are some of the big things, is just realizing, like, becoming present, like just living right now, being present in the moment, being okay with the worst case scenario. And if you lose, it's not a personal, like, you're not a loser. You learn something, right? You learn way more from losing than you ever do from success. So it's like, what am I learning? Cool. I'm going to try again. I'm going to try again. I think those are the keys that make you, so that anxiety doesn't weigh you down. Which is tough right now in today's world.
Yeah.
Like, you see it more than ever. Depression, anxiety are rampant. I think it's because of the regrets and the fears, as opposed to just like being present and being like, hey, we're here. I'm hanging out with RJ right now. We're having a good time. Like, this is the only thing that matters in the whole world is this right now, and being present and okay with that.
I remember, that's so true. And I remember one time when you said, like, turn your anxiety into excitement. Don't say like I'm anxious or things like that. Say I'm excited. It just like change the phrase, and it happens, like things like that actually happened.
Yeah. Annie
Over
Grace told me
the
that. She says, if you look
Yeah,
biologically, like the things that happen, the chemicals that release everything in your body from anxiety and excitement are the exact, like, identical. The only difference is the meaning you attach to it. She's like, so if you shift the meaning, it still feels the same. So let's shift it from like, I'm nervous to like, I'm excited. And it still feels exactly the same. It's just the meaning you're attaching to it, which is fascinating.
yeah, that's awesome. So for a couple of years now, you're actually acquiring companies. You acquired Magnetic Marketing recently. Lady Boss as well, and other companies as well. Which is, I would say, in different markets out there as well. I would say, like, what were your top learnings, good or bad, that you've learned after like acquiring those companies out there, as well, around the stuff.
Yes, I've I've learned some things very quickly that I wish someone would have told me ahead of time. So a couple things. Number one, building or buying companies it's pretty powerful. Like, it's a fast way to shortcut things, right? Like, by buying Dan Kennedy's company, I was able to acquire 40 years of his intellectual property. I was able to
Yeah,
acquire his customer list, his goodwill, like all these things that I just able to pick up and buy really, really quickly. And then now we can leverage that for all the things we're doing, right? So that, like, there's big positives there. The negatives, the biggest thing that I learned, the very first company we acquired was actually Brad Callen's company, which there's Doodly, which is the hand doodle software, and
yeah,
there's Toonly, which is a cartoon software. And so we acquired that company. But again, I never bought a company before. I didn't know how it works. We bought a company, and then we get it. And then basically, after I send Brad a whole bunch of money, he sends me the keys to the company. Here you go. It's your company now. And I wasn't prepared to take on 100 employees in one day, and all of the things that come with that, and the stress and things. I think most companies, they have if they're buying companies, they have a mergers and acquisitions department that's going in ahead of time and like looking at, like, we were looking at the marketing side, because like, oh, like, we're marketing guys, look at the marketing, the sales, the conversions, the funnels. Like, we understood that, but I forgot about the operational side, which was, a Russell mistake. And so we almost drowned by, like, all of a sudden picking up this thing that we weren't prepared for, weren't ready for. And so I think a big part is understanding, when you're buying a company, yes, you're buying the sexy assets and the traffic and the funnels, but you're also acquiring like a team, a family, a whole bunch of employees and managers and people. And we dropped the ball on that one. That was a huge mistake. And so it took us almost a year to understand the operations and get people in place, and it took us a long time to get that in place. And now we're actually, now almost a year later, we're finally like relaunching that company, but it took a year. So we bought that company first, and then Dan Kennedy's company we bought almost like 4 or 5 weeks later, but we knew the
yeah.
mistake we had made. So like, first thing, we stopped everything, like, okay, who are all the people? We got to know the people, who they were, the managers, the part, like, we got to know the team. And luckily the team was a lot smaller. There's only 4 or 5 people over that team at the time, but we
Okay.
had the structure of it. We're like, okay, now we know how it works. And then we had them fly out here. We spent a day or 2 days with them trying to figure out like all the things that worked the best in the past, things that weren't good. And like, we had a really good understanding. And so then when we launched that, it came out of the gates, and just, I mean, within the first month, we made our money back from the entire acquisition. And then it was off to just like, figuring out what we want to do and how we're going to grow it, and strategically. And it's been really, really fun. And as we bought other companies now, the first thing we're doing is like, because I know I get excited by all the marketing stuff, but it's like, hey, that's exciting, but we have to make sure that the foundation is in place, which is all the people and the operations and stuff like that. And so we lead now with operations to figure out that piece and making sure we've got people on our side that they're gonna be able to plug in and figure, make sure that foundation is safe, and then from there we can run with the funnels and stuff. So I'm excited. We're very close to relaunching Lady Boss. But we
Yeah.
were able to when we acquired that company, be able to keep some of the amazing people on the team. Same thing, I think that the people that are in place to be able to make sure the company can run long term. But we have anyway, you guys will all see my plans here in the next 30 days, I think, is when the first initial beta launch will roll out. And anyway, I'm excited. It's gonna be fun. I'm
Wow.
excited to talk about it after it's done so people can see the strategy, what I'm doing and why, but it'll be fun.
That's actually amazing out there, and I really believe this was kind of like a checklist of the things people need to keep in mind while, I would say, like acquiring companies. These were kind of like realistic expectation. I remember I heard your podcast as well around Zuma Juice, which was the company you acquired as well during the time, and you shared like your personal experience around that as well. So I really believe this was kind of like a checklist for a lot of people out there who have those plans or things like that for acquiring companies or things like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
hopefully people will
So
start looking at that, because it's just a fun way to grow your company without you having to buy another Facebook ad, another thing. It's like, how can I buy it without, how can I buy an entire customer list or entire community,
yeah,
and just overnight your success. And the other thing that for people to understand is right now is the best time in the world. Like right
so
now,
true.
there's so much, because of the recession, so many businesses are struggling. They're scared. They want to get out of it. They see what's going to happen next 2 or 3 years. They don't want to go through that. And so we're able to pick up companies for almost no money. And a lot of times they'll finance it. So it's like, hey, I'll buy your company, but I'm just going to pay you from the profits. And so you don't pay any cash up front. They give you the company and you pay them back over time. And so, so it's pretty powerful. Like now's the best time, probably the next decade, to start looking at buying companies. Because again, you can a lot of times get them with no money down. You take the company over and then pay them royalties, and they're happy as can be for deals like that a lot of times as well.
That's really amazing. And with all these particular aspects out there, I really wanted to understand this concept of making decisions.
Mhm.
For you, how you actually what uh, factors you go in to decide any type of decision you want to make, regardless if that's a business one, a personal one, or things like that. What factors make you decide, okay, if that's something out there, I'm going to go and do it, or that's something I'm going to go and avoid, or things like that.
Yeah, great question. So a couple things. All of us have like I geek out on personality profiling and testing.
Yeah.
We're about to launch Understand.me, which is our new company based on that whole thing. But um, what I've realized about myself is I make my decisions emotionally, right? And there's emotion and logic. And usually people lean towards one or the other. And I'm a very emotional decision maker. So I'll see something like, oh, and I get all excited, like, oh, we have to do that thing, right? Which is sometimes really good because I have a pretty good gut instinct, but also like I get excited about things sometimes that may be dumb and aren't smart. And so I try, when any decision I make, the number one thing is like, do I emotionally get excited? Like, am I lit up like, oh, like I want to do this? If I get really excited, like that's the number one check mark. Hey, this could be a good opportunity. But number two is I have good checks and balances. So for most of my decisions, I've got Todd, who's just like
Yeah.
me, but he's very logical. So I'll box Todd like, Todd, I get so excited about this thing. And sometimes he's like, ooh, that makes a lot of sense. We should do it. I'm like, oh, and then we go and we do it, right? A lot of times he's like, hey, that sounds great, but do you think about this, this, and this? I'm like, maybe it won't work because of this. And I'm like, oh, I never thought about that. Like I got so excited by the opportunity. I didn't think about any of the logical repercussions that happens if I do go chase down that path. And so I have a good checks and balance. Same with my wife. I'm very emotional. My wife's more logical. I have other people around me. So I try to surround myself with people that are that think logically, because I sometimes, and I'm a big personality, so I will trump people because I have so much emotion, like excited, but I have the checks and balances, and I respect those people if they're like, I don't think this will work because of this, or I don't think. And sometimes I'll fight back and forth, like, no, but I feel like this, and we'll come to a good medium. But I try not to make decisions in a silo, just because I know that sometimes I can get in trouble. But I also make decisions with people that I trust, right? I don't go and ask 500 people's opinions on something. Like it's usually me. I get Todd's opinion or my wife's opinion or something. And if the emotion and logic check out and I can see it, then that's when I'm like, hey, let's run, let's do it. And so that's the big thing. I think some people get stuck in the problem of like, if they don't want to make the decision themselves, they're scared. Like if I make a decision, it fails, it's going to be on me. And so they'll sit there and they'll ask 20 people, or they'll, talk about Facebook for 2 hours, and, they'd never take a decision. For me, it's like, I'm okay if if it fails, and I'm fine taking the blame. Like I don't mind,
Yeah.
I've failed enough in my life. My God, like I'm gonna fail like a lot of times. I'm also like, hopefully if I get, if I'm right half the time, then we'll win overall. But I'm not afraid of that. And number two is like, I always have a checks and a balance. So those are kind of the things that get, so I can decide fast, but I minimize my failures because I have smart people who I trust around me who will agree with me because of different reasons, right? Emotion versus logic.
Yeah, this is so relatable for me out there because I actually remember when I was starting out, I was 18, back in like 2018 out there. I was 18. When I, because in Pakistan, we didn't had any sort of payment processor. So I was like, forming LLC in US and things like that. I was all alone in the room. Nobody was there. And I put my credit card number in and I invested. And I was like, if it works, that's amazing. If not, I'm going to get back to life because I'm 18 right now. So let's do it anyway. And fast forward here, it went amazing. So right now, recently, first of all, congratulations for an epic, ClickFunnels 2.0 launch.
Thank
It
you.
was amazing. How excited, and again, anxiety excited, you can mix it up both as a combination. How excited were you, and what was the thing going on in your mind that time when you were launching ClickFunnels 2.0? Because there was something out there that was going, consistently over the last 8 years, and then you've rebuilt it, added so many things out there. I would say, like, crushed a lot of people out there who were kind of like competitors in the market as well alongside that. So how excited, and what was going in your mind during that time out there when you were planning to do it?
Yeah. Man, I'm excited. Someday I'm gonna write a whole book on this because there were so many emotions and fears and excitement and nerves and all those things. So a quick story for those who haven't heard this, but 2 years ago we had the opportunity to, first we actually looked at going public potentially. We decided not to, and then we
Yeah.
had a couple people who wanted to buy us, and so we had the opportunity. We got made an incredible offer, and if we would have bought, we'd have been done for life. And but when we got the offer came in, it was really like, I don't know. We didn't feel like we were done yet. We knew that for ClickFunnels to compete, it needed to be redone from the ground up. And the question, like, did we want to go on that journey? And it was like, like we could be done and never work again, or we can go on this journey where we got to like start over from scratch and build it up and then get the excitement and relaunch it and all the things. And that's a tough decision to make. But ultimately, when we sat back and we spent a whole week trying to figure out the pros and the cons and back and forth, emotionally, I wanted to do it. And when Todd logically was like, let's go for it, then we told people no, and then we started running, and we kept it a secret. In fact, we kept it secret from almost everyone in the company. It was me, Todd, and Dave Woodward, the only three that knew for the first 8 months. We didn't tell anybody. The partners didn't know. Nobody knew. It was top secret. And Todd started
Yeah.
building this in a silo by himself and started slowly like recruiting people from the team one at a time. He made them like swear and like sign a contract, like you can't tell anybody, to start working on it. And we spent a year building it, and we thought we were close. And then Funnel Hacking Live came out. We announced it. We were so excited. And I thought it'd be 2 or 3 months later, but it kept taking longer and longer and longer. It took almost another entire year. In fact, Funnel Hacking Live this year, we gave everyone at Funnel Hacking Live the first access to it. And then we did the launch just last week or 2 weeks. It's all a blur now, 2 weeks ago. But it's crazy because, like, especially with software, like, as you guys know, like, software's never done, right? ClickFunnels 1.0 we're
100%.
still working on. So it's like this thing where it's like we never want to we don't want to launch those perfect, but it's never gonna be perfect. And so it's just like we have to launch. And like obviously we had tested it. We have a bunch of beta testers testing it, but until you get tens of thousands of people on a platform, you don't know what's going to come up. Like, it's just impossible to know. And so there's that fear and anxiety. So we launched it, and overnight we had, I think, 16,000 people signed up during the challenge pre-launch for ClickFunnels 2.0 accounts. They're banging on it, having success and failures, and things are coming up, and like in real time, all these things, it's impossible to test everything. We're seeing these things, and our team is going crazy, and there's the fear of like, we did it too early. No, we didn't do it early enough. Like back and forth and back and forth. And the last 14 days since we started the challenge, it's been amazing. Like, I've seen my team, we've knocked out every single major concern. All this stuff's getting busted out. People are launching. We've had people out hitting like $1,000 days. We're hitting 6 figures. Like we got the first 2 Comma Club on the platform, ClickFunnels, but like there's a whole bunch of people now fighting for the first non-us 2 Comma Club on the platform, and it's working. And that's exciting because now it's in the ecosystem. Now it's like we're able to iterate a lot quicker and get things done. Plus, like, we have a whole bunch of new features coming out in the next 3 to 6 months that that are like on the 99-yard line. We're just getting them polished up, and then we're gonna do mini relaunches for each of those features coming out. But it's been crazy. It's been a crazy ride. But I'm just like so excited it's out in the world. I remember reading Ryan Holiday's book, Perennial Seller. He talks about how when you're writing a book, how it's a very internal thing, right? You're in your head, you're by yourself. And the biggest fear for most authors, and this was very true for me, was like when you put it out there in the world, like, what if they hate it? What if they reject it? What if And so like
Yeah.
every time I write a book, I go through that fear, that process, that birthing process, like giving the world your baby, and hoping they don't reject it. And same thing I think was true with ClickFunnels. Like I was nervous, our team was nervous, everyone was nervous. And now that people are adopting it, obviously there's always the naysayers who are like, oh, negative about whatever. Things are different.
Yeah.
Like to
True.
1.0 did this better, but like those who are getting it, who are using it, are like, oh my gosh, the editor's better. It's faster. This is cool. I can do this now. Like they're starting to see like the vision of what we're creating. And it's just like, it's so exciting. Like watching people now adopting it and using it and launching stuff on it. And anyways, I'm excited because the next decade is ClickFunnels 2.0 and across the whole marketplace. Like, and it's going to be fun watching everyone continue to adopt it. And anyways, I'm just glad it's finally into the world.
Yeah, that's really amazing out there, that the thoughts or anything that you had in your mind out there, you just went there. I remember it happens like so many times out there, even in the past when you were planning to write export secrets. You had this story where you're like, you wrote it and like you made it away, and then you rewrote it again, and things like that happen. But we're super happy out there that it is already into the marketplace. Speaking to that, this might be a tough question to ask, but it's just like, I know like you're buying like so many old books, which
Mhm,
is amazing. And I remember in an interview with Joe Vitale, you were saying like, I'm a kind of like a curator,
mhm.
so you're acquiring even like guys like magnetic marketing and Dan Kennedy products out there, things like that. What you're planning to do, according to me, what I'm thinking about at the moment is you're planning to retain their legacies, make their content be there forever for the people who never even had the access. You got like so many first edition books of the people, of Napoleon Hill or other authors out there, which most people might never had the access of.
Yeah.
So probably my last question I really wanted to ask from you is, how are you planning to retain your legacy or things like that before you're gone? So like, how are you actually planning around that, of like how the life gonna be, or how your legacy gonna be after you're gone? So
Yeah.
what are your thoughts around that?
It's such a good question. It's interesting because I think about it a lot. Like, I think for everyone, like, why were we born on this earth? Why are we here? Like, what's our mission? What's our reason? What's our purpose? And I believe there's a whole divine plan. Everyone's here. It's like playing checkers or
Yeah.
chess, right? And God's moving people around. Everything's happening. And so for me, I'm always like, what's my role in this, right? And I feel like the things I put out there have been so useful to the world and the marketplace today. But I'm hoping they'll be useful in 100 years from now, or 500 years from now. And so for me, it's like I think one of the big reasons why I keep doing this, why I'm buying all these old books and republishing and trying to figure out how to extend people's legacy, because I feel like if I can figure out how to do it um, for them, it'll give me the process and the systems to do it for myself. And so that's really like
Mm.
maybe my selfish motivation. Like if I can get Napoleon Hill's work out to more people, if I can get Elbert Hubbard, if I can get Samuel Smiles, if I can get like all these people who were the greatest minds of our time, who most people have never heard of before, right? If I can like Orson Sweet Martin, most people never heard of him. He's the guy who started Success Magazine, wrote like 40 books. Like he's amazing. No one's even heard of him, right? If I can figure out how to get their legacy out in a format and a process that lives forever, then at the same time, if I can plug in whatever the process I figured out, if I can plug my works and my products and my stuff into that, then hopefully it'll just continue to last for as long as possible. So that's kind of the mission and the goal.
That's amazing. Well, Russell, first of all, thank you so much for being on the show today out there. I'm super glad that you were able to get on the show today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And again, 100th episode, congratulations. I'm proud of you for doing it. Most people never make it past like episode 10. So you did it. You put in the time and the effort, and proud of you, man. And you earned this. And so congratulations to you. And hopefully have a chance to hang out in future sometime.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I will post up all of the links out there in the description and in the show notes down below. I already have the account of understand.me actually,
Nice.
from the podcast, I actually got it. So I will post up the links in the description down below. And people like who are, under the rock, who haven't got ClickFunnels 2.0, just go get in there. Link will be in the comment section and in the show notes down below. Well, Russell, any last thing that you want to say before we round the show up?
Last things I'll say is something you probably heard me say a couple of years ago. Like for all you guys who want to be successful in this game, it's like start publishing, like start a YouTube channel or a podcast or something, and just start doing it. And I'm a big believer that if you will do that every day for a year or for 100 episodes, whatever it is, by the time you've gotten to that point, you'll have gained so much. You'll have relationships. You will learn to find your voice. Your audience will have a chance to find you, and you can literally change the world. So just to point back to you, like they should be doing what you're doing, because this is such a great example of what creates success in this world. And so hope that helps you and your audience.
Truly appreciate it. So yeah, guys, that was the end of season 1 out there. We're gonna start season 2 way sooner than you think about it. Well, yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching, and we're definitely going to see you guys in the next season. Bye bye.